All right, what's up, family? Hey, today we're gonna do this video here about good neighbors. Therefore, I'm gonna title it just that, good neighbors. And what I'm talking about when I say good neighbors, this goes for any and everybody all around the world. It doesn't matter if you are living in the slums somewhere, let's say Brazil or somewhere, or wherever. There's slums in every culture, every neighborhood, town, wherever. It doesn't matter if you're living in some type of urban area where there's some type of violence or whatever, criminal activity going on. If you live in a suburban area where it's like a middle class neighborhood, all these places you still have neighbors. You got neighbors in the slums. You got neighbors in that urban area where there's crime infested. If you're in that middle class neighborhood or township or whatever, you have neighbors. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. If you live in that very affluent, like a rich area, you have neighbors. Even if you live in such a secluded area where your nearest neighbor may be 100, 200 yards from you, it's still your neighbor. And so when you have neighbors, it's sort of a peace you have, or some type of camaraderie you have with your neighbors, and you somewhat build up a relationship, and sometimes it even becomes somewhat like family oriented when you are real cool with your neighbors and you kind of look out for one another.
Exactly.
So like I said, even in that crime infested area, neighbors, you look out for each other. It may sound crazy, but let's say in that crime area, the neighbor might be letting the other neighbor know that, yo, here come the cops. In that crime type of area.
Yeah, or like the cops come around asking for where this person is. We don't know nothing.
We look out for one another. When you're in that nice neighborhood, you look out for one another. If something going on at your house and you ain't around, your neighbors is like, hey, what's going on? Hey, who you looking for?
Mm-hmm.
We familiar with that. I remember when we first bought this place.
Right.
You was just a kid at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, this shows you. I remember your twin sister, like my wife has an identical twin. Her twin sister came over to visit one day when we weren't here. And our neighbor had seen her walking up the walkway. He said, hey, who are you looking for? Now, mind, this is her twin sister. And he still noticed you ain't the one that lived there, though. And he was like, hey, who you looking for? Because they stepped out. And I remember she had told us later, she's like, wow, what's up with y'all neighbors? Like, Dad, I was just going to knock on the door. He was all asking me these questions. See,
that's your security.
Yeah, that's your neighbor looking out for you.
And it's funny that when we actually was hunting for property, wasn't even thinking of security.
Mm-hmm.
But now, along throughout the years, we've realized that security is very important.
Yeah.
So when you don't have security in your own home, at least you have security in your surroundings where you live at, because you got people that are actually looking out for your place. They know.
Because you said that.
Yes.
You said having good neighbors is some form of security. And you're right. Because he's like, when you're looking out for one another, it's like it is a form of security, because you checking out, they looking out for your best interest and vice versa. It's like our neighbor, we had an elderly neighbor.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And every now and then we would check on her, because we built a relationship with her, and she lives by herself, and we would check on her every now and then. I thought it was actually very funny. I remember one time you gave her a call to check on her, right?
Yeah, she was just as...
But remember, y'all, she's very old, over 90-something years old.
That's why I laughed, because I was like, yo, she's...
And she, they get a little cranky sometimes. What happened when you called to check on her?
Yeah, I just called to check, because remember that time...
Your neighbor, good neighbors.
Remember that timing when the electric went out?
Uh-huh.
And they said, please, it's important that you check your elderlies and all that. And then
and you called her.
That, I called her, and she said, okay, Linda, what do you want? What do you want? I'm like, I'm just calling just to check up on you. That's all.
Okay, what is it? Because I'm busy. What do you need? And I remember when she told me that, you was upset. But then I told you, I said,
bothered.
But you was like, look, I'm calling just as a friend. I don't need anything. I'm just checking on you. And she got all grumpy. And I had to tell my wife, I said, see, this is how people get when they get older. I said, but you know what, babe? A funny way to look at it, just look at it this way. Hopefully, when you get that old, you hope to say, I ain't going to get crazy like that. Someone's looking out for me, and they're getting grumpy with me. Like, what?
Yeah, that's just so.
Matter of fact, what's the word of the day?
Serenity.
Because that's, like Mommy said here, having good neighbors is like sort of security, and it gives you serenity. Security and serenity. And if you look up the word serenity, it simply means...
meaning the state of being calm or at peace.
Yeah. Think about a lot of you out there who you get deliveries in the mail. You get a package. Sometimes you get an important package. And guess what? If you live in a neighborhood where you don't have good neighbors, all of a sudden, we know about these package thieves. Even people drive around, pull up, run up the steps real quick, steal your stuff. But when you got good neighbors, Joker, I try to do that, and the neighbor be like, hey, that's my neighbor. What are you doing?
But
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but even though when you have good neighbors, that's not what you want. You want them to be on top of things with everything, just as they expect you to do the same. But even that, you still want to have your alarm system, your security camera.
Yes,
you know?
That's cool. But when you have good neighbors, you look out for each other for all sorts of things.
You have less to worry about whenever you're at home, whenever you're not at work. Well, whenever you're at work.
You live in a good neighborhood.
Like I remember one time I had my sprinkler system on, running the water, and I fell asleep. And it was like 11, 12 o'clock at night. I remember our neighbor came and knocked on the door. He said, "Hey man, I just want to let you know. I don't know, did you forget that you left your sprinkler?" I was like,
I feel like that's a good feeling when other people are looking out after you.
Yeah, I said, "Hey, thanks. I forgot. I fell asleep." But that's neighborly, you know. And same thing with one of our neighbors. I remember he left his car lights on the inside, and I did the right thing. Went over, "Hey man, I don't know if you know, but you know your car lights are on." So, "Oh, thanks a lot, man. I almost drained my battery."
Yeah, you know, and it reminds me of that one of your favorite movies, White Man Can't Jump.
See, talk about good neighbors. I like that. Because now see, this when you got bad neighbors. Remember the movie White Man Can't Jump with Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrison, right?
Yeah.
Remember they lived in some garden place,
it was
right?
Like a complex.
Yeah, and their place got robbed. And I remember when Wesley Snipes came home, his wife was like, "I feel like I've been raped. They robbed, they took everything, and nobody's seen nothing." See, that's bad neighbors. And I remember Wesley Snipes went outside on the terrace. He was speaking to his neighbors, and he said, "Yo, man, did y'all see anything? Man, they stole everything." And all the neighbors was like, "Nah, we ain't seen nothing." He said, "What?" He said, "Man, I'm talking about a 50-inch TV, and nobody seen nothing. Man, this is bull crap." But see, those are the type of areas where you go, these are not good neighbors.
It's not good.
We gotta move.
Yeah, it's not good to live over there.
You know what I'm saying? So like I said, even in those areas where, because we've seen areas like that where in a very affluent neighborhood where your nearest neighbor may be 100, 200 yards away, they're still neighbors. You still check on each other every now and then. You might be coming from the grocery store or whatever. You pass their place and you go, "Hey, I haven't seen such and such in a while. Maybe we need to check on them." Yeah, check on them. Check on your neighbors.
Exactly.
It's good. It's a great feeling when you have good neighbors, because I love what you said. It's a form of security. Even if you have an actual security system, it's still a form of security, and it's healthy to check on one another.
Yeah,
like I said,
that
you
makes
building
somebody
something.
feel good. Like, it's like you're giving them confirmation to be like, "Oh wow, they do check up on me." When
And the serenity that you said, you know, it makes
it takes off a load of pressure or worry.
Yeah, even remember when it was our first time that we actually moved here, that we bought the house. Remember that the neighborly came by and brought a cake to us?
You don't see that.
Welcome us.
That was nice. You only see that in movies.
Like, wow.
That was nice. That was very nice. It's
Yeah.
rare that you see that anymore.
And that made me feel so comfortable for both of us.
And that make us say, you know, we should do that.
Exactly.
When a new person moves in the neighborhood, and when you see your neighbor going through something, you go, "Let me lend a helping hand. Let me help out my neighbor." You know, or I see him doing that job by himself. Let me help him out, as opposed to just standing there watching. You know, because
acting blind.
Yeah, because who knows? One day you might be doing, and it's like, you know, let me go help my neighbor out.
Right.
You're building a community, and this is like the title says, good neighbors. And as I said, it don't matter if you lived in a crime infested. I like what you said. They alert each other like, "Hey man, I just seen cops come." Even though it's criminal behavior, or in the slums, you know, you look out for each other when you're neighborly, because it wouldn't be pleasant. It wouldn't be serenity if something is going bad and you go, "Man, you as my neighbor could have prevented that, but you didn't." So you need and want that serenity, as you said, peaceful and calm feeling, and that security when you have good neighbors. So there is a definite difference when you have good neighbors, which we love, or you have bad neighbors who have no concern for you. That was the other word. When you have good neighbors, they have concern. You have concern for one another. You go, "Oh, let me check on my neighbor." Or let me do this for my neighbor. Or I have a little extra this. Let me go share this with my neighbor. Or we have an event. Let me invite my neighbor. And all this, it's like
intertwines with
because they're going to brush it off on you. You're going to brush it off on them like, man, they did this nice for me. Let me do something nice for them.
Exactly.
So you have a concern for your neighbor. You have serenity when you have good neighbors. And it's a form of security.
Exactly.
When you have good neighbors. And all together, it feels great in a neighborhood when you have good neighbors. And that's what we strive to have anywhere in the world we go or live. And as I said, this is for any and everyone out there to you. It doesn't matter where you live. What type of neighbors do you have? I hope you have good ones. And if you don't have the greatest of neighbors, you can always try to show them what it is to be a good neighbor. And hopefully that'll brush off from you to them, and you can change them into being a good neighbor.
Exactly.
Hey, so on that note, subscribe, share, like, and comment. Peace.
Yes.
Like a good neighbor.